All right. We are live, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Merry Christmas week. Week 16 almost in the books. One more game tonight. Week 17. An interesting week 17 coming up here.
Brand new for all of us, right?
Look, I've said it for a while. First of all, the NFL does what it wants, right? I mean, NBA has been traditionally on Christmas Day. Is anyone talking about NBA on Christmas?
Isn't that crazy? It's like they're just completely took over the whole day. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. It's coming. It's coming. There's going to be Wednesday night football. It's coming. They're going to stay out of Saturdays because of they don't want to ruin their farm system.
Okay.
Right? And it's part of the antitrust. They're going to stay out of Fridays out of respect for high schools, although there's some Friday games, obviously. And obviously there's Saturday games late in the season. Wednesday is coming. Look at what the NFL did here. They wanted to play on Christmas. So they took 4 teams and played them on Saturday.
Right.
And now they can do Wednesday. Now, how are they doing that? So the Chiefs and Texans flip and play the Ravens Steelers. Those were the 4 teams on Saturday. They're the 4 teams on Wednesday. So it's a normal, quote, Sunday to Thursday cycle, except it's Saturday to Wednesday. Now, that does make it a little shorter from the previous Sunday to Saturday to Wednesday. And we have some injuries to deal with on those games, and we'll talk about that.
Sure.
But here's why I say Wednesday football is coming. The NFL is smarter than I am. I've said forever, for safety, why did you add a 17th game? Why don't you just add a second bye week? I get it. That was tried in the 90s, but it's a different world right now. And the world we are in right now, do people really know who's playing on Sunday night football or Monday night football typically?
No.
Like, you just turn the game on and check it out.
You're like, oh, this game's on. Cool. Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
you don't
absolutely.
play. It's
unless it's your team. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's your team, you're like, what? At least the average football fan is just, oh, I'm free. I can watch football. They turn it on, and I hope I find a good game, right?
Sure. Yes, yeah.
So I always said a second bye week would be good for health, and it would be the same revenue for 16 games in 18 weeks because we have too many. Look, we've got 2 games on Wednesday this week.
3 on Saturday as well. Yeah.
3 on Saturday, and we still have a slate of 6 games at the early slot on Sunday. Right?
There's enough games to spread around. They know that, right? Yeah.
So, but the NFL's smarter. They added to 17 games with still the 1 bye. Their plan is going to be add to 18 games, which they've already talked about,
right?
With 2 bye weeks, right? Then it goes Labor Day to President's Day. And obviously they're going to do 1 international game and force that issue, etc. But what do 2 bye weeks do? It allows you to play Wednesday football freely. You play 2 teams Wednesday coming off the bye the week before.
Then you have enough time. Rest. Yes.
They got plenty of schedules. So
they can
Wednesday
act like safety's
football
a thing, yeah.
Is going to be here to stay once they see the ratings, and it's just more revenue and more growth and more cap space and everything. So when they go to now, I'm not saying next year Wednesday, but as soon as they go to 20 weeks, 18 games and 2 byes, you're going to see Wednesday. They're going to like this Wednesday experiment. I get it's Christmas. It's a different deal. But it's
you've talked about this for years. You've had an article about it, and then I remember Joe Burrow must have read your article. I remember earlier in the year he explained exactly what you just laid out.
I don't think Joe Burrow read my article. Okay.
It's just a logical plan that you've laid out for years that I'm sure, like you said, the players have been talking about.
But
right?
David Carr might have read Armando Seguro's article
from the Outkick, friend
that quoted me calling. This was written. I talked to him on Thursday. He published it on Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday, Chiefs game. Saturday morning, David Carr used our term, Gumby, to describe we talked about on the podcast last week. Gumby to describe Patrick Mahomes, why he can play through the high ankle. He's Gumby. Maybe David Carr. Okay, I guarantee you Joe Burrow didn't watch this podcast. Okay,
yeah.
And I'm not saying David Carr saw my tweet, but David Carr does follow Armando Sarguro.
He used to be at the Miami Herald, who's a very good journalist.
Very good journalist.
Yes,
and he may have seen Armando's tweet and or article quoting it. He didn't, I don't know. Maybe he came up with it independently, but
I did a cool thing where I advanced searched and wrote Gumby, Carr, and Chao, and I saw just two things. So it looks like there's only one other place he got the Gumby from. It wasn't out anywhere else. So,
well, I mean, look, I was worried about using the term Gumby. Like, do you
like,
guys
even
know
who it is?
who Gumby is anymore? I mean, I grew up and I saw Gumby and Pokey all the time.
There you go. Yes.
The ball of clay. And da 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 da. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm old.
And Pokey's the horse, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pokey's
I'm just making sure. I've never seen it, but I know exactly what Gumby is.
You got to get with the times here. I'm with the times. I get Pokey the horse and Gumby.
You're quoting Taylor Swift last year. You're very hip. Yeah.
I could probably. I won't sing the song, the Gumby song.
But, you have that too.
But I even know current times. And Doug's the Australian room. Bluey.
There you go. Oh yes.
Wait.
Before Disney.
Most people don't
Disney.
know this.
Yeah.
Bluey is a female.
Yes, it is.
It is.
She is. And Bingo is also a girl as well. Yes,
Bluey
exactly.
and Bingo, yes. And here's a quiz question for people who don't know. What's Bluey's father's name?
Oh, I need to know this. Bandit, yeah.
It is Bandit, but I usually just say Dad.
Yeah, because you have the song in your head. I have that song in my head all the time, yes.
It is Bandit.
Yes.
Yes, Doug knows, the Australian knows.
Does.
All right, anyways, all right, enough
We're the one with kids knows. Either one.
Well, all three of us.
Yes, we all know it, yes.
Have kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're all watching it.
Yeah. Anyway, so Wednesday football here to stay.
I had one question though. NBA from an NBA standpoint, because we also on Insights, we cover all of them. We're gonna have Court Fusu on the site. What are they doing? Should they be fighting back more, or like no one owns a day?
So, with what?
Yeah,
what are they gonna do?
Yes, that's there's nothing much. There's nothing they can do. Yeah.
What are they gonna do?
They don't own the day, so anybody can use that day. Is that like back in the past they just didn't want to step on their toes and now they don't care, or? Because they let them have it. And maybe that's what they let them have it. Now they're not now, right?
Well, here's the thing. Look, when Christmas falls on the weekend, the NFL ends up with football and falls on a Thursday. This is unusual because it fell on a Wednesday.
Right.
Basketball can be played pretty much it is played every day of the week.
Anytime.
Football's been, cycling in. So this is the breakthrough onto a Wednesday here.
But this breakthrough, like you said, is just going to open the door to what we talked about earlier in the podcast.
Well, next year Christmas will fall on a Thursday, so they'll have more Christmas games, and then Friday, right? Doesn't it kind of march through typically?
Yes.
Yeah. But anyways, Wednesday, what's the NBA going to do? I mean, the NBA's you can't shorten the season because it takes away revenue. Everyone's like, shorten the season.
We talked about that 66 games or something. Yeah,
but is LeBron going to give back 20% of his money?
No.
I mean,
no, he's not. He's
going
not.
to cut back 20% of the game.
None of these players are. Yeah,
they're not giving back money,
right?
And are owners going to, cut their revenue stream?
The concession stuff? No.
Concession. I mean, and their tickets. I mean, it's hard to pare back. I mean, it's interesting. What they may try and do is, and our players will push back on this. See, load management is in the NFL too. It's just not as obvious because when a guy you load manage during the week.
Right.
Teron Armstead, DMP, he plays on
Tony
Sunday.
Pollard's been not practicing.
Practicing. So you do load manage, but you play in the game. And even in the game, you load manage only third downs or red zone snaps or, only pass rushes or whatever. In the NBA, because they play so often,
the back-to-backs and such,
it becomes an all or none load management. And I get players will push back on this. The NBA's only solution against this load management.
And they don't hide it. Like injury report, I don't feel like you're ever going to see if they had back-to-back games NFL, like they played Saturday or Friday, Saturday. I don't think you would see injury load management on the injury report. You would see, like Teron said, knee/vet rest, and then he would play. Like you're seeing LaMelo
vet rest
Ball,
is load management.
Yeah, as I said, but like you're saying LaMelo Ball out injury/load management. Like they're very like blatant on the injury report about what they're doing.
The complaint is, star player comes to town one time a year and you bought a ticket and you can't see them because of load management. I don't know. Players will push back on this, but what if they said you could only load manage for a half?
That's interesting. I mean,
but players will push back and say, you don't understand how long it takes me to warm up. It's not really load management for, but I'm just playing.
We talked about the hockey. If a player's like, I'm really tired, or he's like maybe a little injured and he can't play full strength, his shifts will decrease, or the time on the ice will, dip. So, I mean, like you said, every single sport has a way of load management or whatever.
Anyways. All right, let's go to this week's coming out of week 16. I guess let's 17. Hit the big one first. Tank Dell.
Yes.
Okay. We said from the get-go, not good. No, it wasn't an open fracture, the jagged
Clarify the
edge.
picture. Yes, yeah.
That was his knee pad going cattywampus with the edge of the knee pad.
I've never heard that word until you've used it. You told me on the phone like 6 years ago. And I'm like, I had to look it up. Cattywampus. Yeah, it's a great word though. So I like it.
I don't know. Is it an old person word? Maybe
I don't want to say that, but yeah. Sometimes I say they're literary words. Like you only see them in a book.
David Carr said Gumby. I'm okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Gumby's okay. Cattywampus.
Go on. Yeah, no, Tank Dell and his injury. Yeah.
Anyways, that was obviously bad. And when the reports came out, kneecap dislocation, I said, it's not just a kneecap dislocation. You don't go to the hospital for a kneecap dislocation. You don't stay overnight in the hospital for a kneecap dislocation. I said all along it's a knee dislocation. The kneecap dislocation may be part of it. Think back to Teddy Bridgewater. He did an interview recently. And,
he just won the title.
His knee was completely disconnected. And what did the head athletic trainer of the Vikings, and I'm not disparaging him, I'm just saying, what did the Vikings officially say? ACL and some other things. ACL and several other major
ACL
ligaments.
Plus,
I mean, you don't, I still remember that Teddy Bridgewater thing. I was kind of just starting on Twitter. And I actually had a couple of media guys call me and said, what's going on there?
Because you didn't get a video because it happened in practice.
It happened in practice. So what's the video? And what raised my ire is practice was canceled. And here's the key. Practice, and it was training camp. Practice is often canceled for an injury when there's 5 minutes left or 10 minutes left. This was the beginning of practice that they canceled the practice. This is a big deal. And then what led me to really say it's a huge deal and knee dislocation is I worked in Minnesota. I was an assistant team physician for the Vikings. I know where Eden Prairie is. I know where Winter Park is, where they were training at the time.
You work with majority of the sports over there, like hockey, football, basketball.
Hockey, Timberwolves, the Twins. I was the junior assistant guy, fill in the gaps for the veteran guys. I was not the head of the Vikings, like in Chargers.
You're in the room, right? Yeah.
Somewhat in the room. Not always in the room. Somewhat in the room.
In the facility, yeah.
I'll tell you my Jack Del Rio story one time when I was brand new there, and the head athletic trainer, the little joke he played on me. We can do that another time.
For sure.
But the reason why I was like Teddy Bridgewater is a huge deal. You don't cancel practice for a minor deal. I get he's the starting quarterback, but I saw a Twitter picture as some media called me and said, what do you think is happening? I'm like, I'm not clairvoyant. I mean, you got to show me a video. But I actually pieced it together with practice being canceled. And I saw a picture. Someone tweeted out a picture and said, ambulance here at Winter Park. And I looked at it, and it wasn't an ambulance. It was Hennepin County paramedic.
Trauma, like a trauma.
Trauma.
Right.
And if you know the geography of Minnesota or Minneapolis, which I do since I lived there and worked there, you'd literally drive by 4 hospitals before you get to Hennepin County Hospital. Why are you going to Hennepin County? Because it's major level 1 trauma. dislocated knee, worry about artery, nerve, and other things. And yes, that's what Teddy Bridgewater ended up
And that's
having.
your
That's why-
insider knowledge and stuff, just knowing the hospitals and
But
the
this
state,
is why
you
we
know?
said all along, Tank Dell's more than a kneecap
Right.
dislocation. This morning, D'Amico Ryan said ACL
Mhm.
and
Dislocated kneecap.
dislocated kneecap.
Mhm.
I still think it's ACL plus. I still think it's dislocated.
Do you think
knee.
MCL and the PCL too? All three?
MCL, ACL, kneecap, maybe PCL
Okay.
too.
Mhm.
Yes, but major injury, significant for Tank Dell, to the point where, I mean, I'll get a jump on fantasy right.
Yeah.
Do not draft.
Tank Dell next year. Well, I'll even say, if you read our preseason report, we had a lower score-ish on him too, because you're worried about that fractured leg. He's 165. He wasn't out there to block much. You're worried about his weight and being able to take the forces of the game,
Well,
or
he's a very skilled, very guy, and a very unfortunate friendly fire accident. And kudos to him. He catches the ball, dislocates his knee, and hangs onto the ball for the touchdown. I mean, that's like so special.
And the wide receiver that ran into him, he just got called up to the practice squad. That's not anything his fault. He just wrong place one time, not maybe where he's supposed to be, or just
I don't know. I don't know what the play call was,
right.
or the route was, or I don't know if it was an adjustment on Tank Dell's part or the other guy's part, or look, or how do you discredit a guy? I mean, he sees the ball in the air and he goes towards the ball. He didn't know where the ball's going to end up. I mean, and he ended up kind of in the area. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to blame a guy
throw the
like
blame
that.
through up. Yeah.
My point is this: Tank Dell's injury is significant. Look, Nick Chubb, great job. He came back this year. We all agree he's not Nick Chubb yet. Hopefully he gets there next year. But he beat the odds of even coming back. Good for him.
I wanted to mention one injury, Doc, that kind of reminded me of it. The two injuries that always reminded me when we first worked back day was Ryan Shazier, when we did that one. That was pretty significant. And then the Zach Miller with his knee that kind of 360'd, and he had to have artery damage and stuff at the tight end for the Bears.
Yes, in New Orleans.
Yes, not as bad though, but same like
Zach Miller, I said career threatening.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And it was career ending.
Yes.
Nick Chubb,
yeah.
I said career threatening.
Yeah.
He's come back, not career ending. Is he Nick Chubb yet? No. We'll see. Tank Dell, I'm not trying to be negative. Career threatening. He's a smaller, very skilled, quick wide receiver. Lose half a step. How good is he?
5'10", 165. Yeah.
Career threatening. I'm not saying ending yet. I hope it's not ending, but certainly threatening and against the odds to be ready for the start.
Does
of
youth
next
help
season.
him being very early in his career? Zach Miller was kind of tail end a little bit.
Youth helps.
Yeah. Okay.
Youth helps.
Yeah.
But his size doesn't, because he relies on the quickness.
Yeah. And that's going to hurt them without Stephon Diggs, right? That's key. Both those receivers out.
So I'll say it here: career threatening. We hope not ending, but he's not starting this.
Do not draft him next year. That's key.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say do not draft him in the spot he was drafted in this year.
There you go.
Okay, at some point,
yes,
everyone's worth drafting, right? At some point, I would assume. Anyways, so not to be negative about that, but
that's
more news to
the
come.
situation that he's in. Yeah.
Yes.
Now I'm going to just do a couple quarterbacks before we jump into Jalen Hurts, because I want you to talk a little bit about that. Just really quick talk about Josh Allen. I feel like it's weird. He's like someone that's like literally scored 80 points, and they say, by the way, he's been playing with a broken hand or finger. What are your thoughts on if it's affected him at all, or just the injury itself for Josh Allen?
Number one, I keep saying it. There are way more injuries than the public knows about. Period. End of discussion. 85% is a good week, maybe 80% in weeks 16, 17.
Collision sport, yeah.
There are way more, like I've been there. It's not like few guys on the injury report. It's that there's so many other things that happen. Literally on a routine basis, athletic trainers will deal with half the team before a game. Whether it's, here's an elbow bursitis and extra padding here, or here's, skin abrasion here, and here's a toe thing here. They're not all on the injury reports. Okay. So I don't want to hear this, oh boy, this team's cheating
hiding or whatever.
Hiding. Yeah. Look, Max Crosby had a quote fractured ankle that he played on since week 4. Was it a fracture like Braxton Jones's fracture? And we'll come back to him. No, he can't play football. Was it a chip fracture or something? Probably. And he now has an ankle scope. does it surprise me that, Josh Allen had, quote, a broken hand of some sort, left non-throwing hand? Not really. I mean, think about Jalen Hurts. He's got a finger that's maybe broken, or who knows, on the non-throwing hand. It doesn't surprise me. It's football. The timing of the story.
That's what gets me.
Look, now that it's a non-issue, they're willing, whoever, whether it's the Bills or Josh Allen's agent or a teammate or someone inside the building, is willing to leak it out because it's healed and it's no longer a target. And it only makes him look more like Superman.
Right.
It's not Josh Allen claiming it, someone else.
If he had a 4-pick game or something a couple weeks ago, would they release it then? Is that agent-y kind of like, just be like, oh yeah, he's been playing with a broken hand. He had
Does
4
he throw
picks.
left-handed?
Yeah.
I guess he does sometimes.
Yeah. He does a little both. Yeah, right.
There's the push pass and
he
whatever.
does everything. Yeah.
But no, it doesn't surprise me.
All right, next, Doc, just jump in right to Jalen Hurts. I have a little bit to add to that. So when you're done with yours, talk about Jalen Hurts and the concussion he suffered during the game this week.
Jalen Hurts tried to talk his way out of it. You saw him. The ref came over to him. And I don't know if there was a buzz down or whether the ref saw it. Either way, good job. And Jalen Hurts like, no, I'm good. I'm good. He was a little slow getting up.
He was a little slow, a little wobbly, maybe. Yeah.
And it's the right thing to check him. Oh, I'm good, ref. I don't need to go. No. You have to go. You don't have a choice. Came out of the blue tent. He grabbed his helmet. Now,
tried to run
that's
right
the
out,
oldest
right out there. Yeah.
trick in the book. Like, we would hide a guy's helmet.
That's funny.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
Here, let's go check him and hand the helmet to somebody, to the equipment guy. Put it away.
Because he's going to try to run
hide
out
it
there.
in the trunk somewhere. That's because if they have their helmet, they run on the field. Back in my day, what do you want me to do? Tackle the guy? I mean,
Like nothing you can.
So the only thing you can do is like, here, take his helmet. He's not going on the field without his helmet, just to try and protect him.
Because they fought much more back in the day.
He grabbed his helmet and tried to talk his way going back in.
Yeah.
And then got tapped. No. You got to go in the locker room.
The independent neuro. When he went with neuro.
And was ruled out. Can't judge the concussion. Can't say that he's out on this next week.
I did want to add something though. We heard Adam Chernoff. He does a good job of breaking down the games after the games, like right away. He has a podcast and so forth. He said, which I remember, week 11, he had a concussion check on the sidelines, and then he was able to come back in. He didn't interview with the afterwards post game, but he went on SVP, the Sports Center show, and he had sunglasses on, and he was like rambling and kind of like gibberish. So we'll show you the video so you can see it too. But that's something he brought up that I do remember. He was first off, he doesn't smile ever. He's very solemn and stuff. So he's like smiling, talking. So I don't know what they give him to kind of like get those symptoms away.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I should look at all that before I comment on it. Adam Chernoff, whatever he has there, I don't recall that. But as far as the sunglasses stuff, I mean,
it was week 11 too, the last Commanders game too, by the way.
My son had a baseball tournament this weekend. I didn't go to the game on Sunday, but I did on Saturday. He played at 3:40 and 7:30.
Okay.
For the seventh, I think it was the 3:40 game as the sun was setting. He's out he's got sunglasses on, and the lights turn on, and I'm like, my wife's like, Davis, you probably can put away your sunglasses now. I'm like, he's got this, it's all about the drip, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Could be the drip. No, for sure.
I don't know. I mean,
it was post game. He was out
I'm
already.
not ready to say that was because he's hiding a concussion. Maybe it's the drip. I don't know. But
big Cowboys game this week. You're worried about his availability, I would say, or just have to
50-50, right? And if there's any question, the Eagles will probably go with that because they're trying to go somewhere, right? They don't want to turn a second impact into what happens if he gets a second concussion.
He's out multiple weeks.
He's out for a month.
Yeah, and now you get the playoffs in a couple weeks. So
the Eagles want to be careful there too, right? They don't want to rush him back first of all, you shouldn't be able to rush him back with the independent system, but caution. We'll see. They got to be sure because you don't want him to get a second concussion. Look at the guys who've gotten second concussions this year. Chris Olave, IR. Tua, obviously IR. You can't afford to put Jalen Hurts on IR for 4 weeks.
Mhm.
There's the time, so you got to be careful.
Super careful, yeah.
But this is what reminds me. What Jalen Hurts reminded me of with the thumbs up. Remember Super Bowl 49? Julian Edelman got hit, had a concussion. I remember it was one of my first official sitting in media credentialed space.
Oh, at the game, yeah.
At Super Bowl in Arizona. I was in section 500 somewhere. I wasn't in the main press box. I've been lucky enough to be in the main press box since, but I was in the up binoculars. And I had my Twitter, at the time was still Twitter, tweet deck open, and the guys I follow, and I could see it was Dave Burkett who said,
the Lions
beat reporter. Lions weren't in it. He's like, the spot. I'm sitting within earshot through a thin wall, I guess, of the spotter, and he's radioing down to check Edelman, and he didn't get checked. But with binoculars, so Edelman gets hit hard, jumps right up, and keeps running.
Yep.
And then runs back to the huddle, and the spotter says, check him. And after another play, the spotter says, you got to check him. And I'm looking at binoculars, and I'm looking at the team physician for the Patriots. I'm looking at Jim Whalen, head athletic trainer. It was a hurry-up offense. There was no timeout. They were on the edge of the white, but they didn't go onto the field. The Patriots, a couple plays later, scored a touchdown, and they immediately left the box to meet Edelman about the 10-yard line.
Did he score the winning touchdown? Edelman did?
No, this is not the end of the game.
Oh, okay.
Yet.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's maybe third quarter.
Yeah.
And they brought him over. But meanwhile, a few minutes elapsed. They brought him into the 10. They looked at the video, and the next punt return, he came back in. And people are like, well, what happened there? That's where the medical timeout came into play. I call it the Edelman rule.
Have you seen?
Because there was no dead time.
He said he didn't even have a concussion. He spoke in the past. He said it was a hip injury he had before, and his hip injury made him stumble. that's his.
And Michael Vick had dirt in his eye, right?
So,
I mean, yeah. So,
I don't know.
But that's I call it the Edelman rule. This is why Jalen Hurts can't go, I'm good, and let's go.
Yep.
It's mandatory. It all stems from that Super Bowl Edelman that he sort of ran it off, and
because the standard, if we put it in that game, he's probably not coming back in the game, right?
Well, no, at least there would be, in today's world, there'd be get off the field, Edelman. I don't care if it's a hurry up, but you don't. And in those days, if medical ran onto the field, you'd get cussed out and fired because you'd cost the team a timeout, or the player would be, And now you say, well, safety first, just into the field. But this is a radio down check. Now, if there were obvious signs of concussion that the medical staff saw, you should go onto the field.
Right.
You don't worry about costing your team a timeout or losing the player for a play. But if you're like, we just got to check them, I mean, where's the ability to stop the game? That's where the concussion and the stoppage rule came.
For sure.
This is where, in the past, Jalen would just go, I'm good, and go back in. No. When someone buzzes down or thinks
play at least or whatever. Yeah.
Play it safe. So anyways,
next one, just for fantasy purposes, I want to go over the Saints. They have a couple things. Derek Carr with his hand, you're not expecting him to come back this year with them out of the playoffs, or is there a slight chance he could return this week?
Saints are out, right?
They're officially out, correct? Yes. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I don't expect him back. I didn't expect him back anyways.
Alvin Kamara with his groin. Also,
and by the way, since it's live, we are taking questions.
Yes, I have a couple here. Yeah, waiting for you. Yes, yeah.
So the Saints play tonight. They're out of it. You're not going to ask me about the meat locker.
You can speak on it. Yes.
I don't know if it's a meat locker, but whatever, the refrigerator, freezer.
They were trying to replicate the cold conditions of tonight in Green Bay. Yes. Yeah.
So apparently the quarterback's coach held a meeting or ran through some plays with just the quarterbacks, not the whole team. The lockers
place, yeah.
In the refrigerator,
cafeteria, freezer,
refrigerator,
the walk-in freezer,
whatever it is, the refrigerator, freezer. I'm not sure, or the Costco dairy section.
Yeah, it's the big, huge walk-in. Yeah, it's not warm.
It's cold in there. Yeah. Anyways, Cool Runnings.
Yes, I've seen Cool Runnings. Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay. So he did it because of that, or?
Oh,
Do you
I guess
remember
I'm
what you
not
told me
familiar
too when
with
we had a really good sick pick on the Ohio State game? And I remember what you told me when all the Tennessee kids were coming out because the whole headline of that game was Tennessee doesn't play well in the cold, so they play me with like your special thing. You're seeing the Vaseline on the big boys.
First of
coming
all,
out.
they come out shirtless, right?
Yes, yep.
Secondly, I mean, I guess I'm not one to talk, but
They're all offensive linemen though, and D linemen. Yeah, they weren't the wide receivers. Okay, yeah.
they weren't going to win any bodybuilding
No,
contest, beer belly drinking
yes,
contest.
yes, they might for sure win that.
But-
Yes, yeah.
And if you notice, they're all shirtless, but they all had the Vaseline, which is the
Mhm.
oldest trick in the book. Put
Yep.
Vaseline on when it's cold and windy, and it acts as a
Philadelphia
little
would do it for high school games. Everybody would take a shirt off. I'm like, you're not that cold. You could never see it. You're shining.
But here's the thing I'd say about the Tennessee guys. Really? You're going to try and play tough guy and but you have Vaseline on. I'll give you that.
Right.
But then you've got snow headgear on. Like, come on. You
Yep.
just admit that you're cold. I
Yep.
mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. The freezer thing, what do you think for Green Bay? Is that something no one else is doing that, right? Like
First
it's just
of
an
all,
odd thing, the freezer.
Doug, our Green Bay fan here.
Yes.
The biggest misnomer in sports is the biggest misnomer
the
in
cool
sports.
running, yeah. They're showing us
Yeah.
the cool running in the freezer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest misnomer in sports is the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. The field's heated, right? It's the only
Yes.
field that's heated.
Yes.
So actually what you see when it's really cold and snowy, you see a lot of brown. The field's wet
Mhm.
because
Yep.
the snow melts
already
for the
melting
most
already
part,
right
unless
on-
it's snowing so fast that you can't keep up. But
Yes.
it's like, the fancy driveways in Deer Valley, they're heated.
Yep.
So you never have to
Mhm.
shovel snow.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not frozen tundra, number one. Sure, the temperature is still cold. The second thing is,
Is it more wind chill, right? Or Green Bay? Like, what's the?
I've played in Green Bay. The games in Green Bay the coldest games. The coldest game I was ever at was the one freezing cold game in Cleveland.
When you're with the Chargers?
With the Chargers, wind off the lake. That probably was the coldest game. It was so cold that game that literally the water and the Gatorade would freeze.
Mhm.
The cups on the side, and you'd have to
Yeah.
break the top layer of ice to drink
Comes
it.
out
And yes,
cold,
you
yeah.
still can get dehydrated.
Mhm.
Okay. So I've said this before on Twitter. So what do you drink when the Gatorade and water is frozen?
Soup.
Chicken broth.
Yeah. Or
You
chicken
can't
broth. Yeah.
drink coffee because you get too hyped up.
Right.
Whatever. Chicken broth. So we started medical and the training stuff. We started running in and grabbing cups of chicken broth and bringing
Okay.
it out to the
Right.
sideline.
That's
Because it's also good because sodium and
Yeah, it's good.
and
Yeah, yeah.
because cramping, dehydration, and tastes good warm.
So
whatever.
soup, the broth, broth is not, soup is too chunky and like your food in there. You want
Yeah.
this to broth,
Broth,
just
the
okay. That makes
sodium
sense.
and-
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's chicken broth. It's in NFL locker rooms for cold games.
Mhm.
Anyways, off the topic. I think planning.
For the Saints and their injuries.
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
How would you, I guess, replicate that? If is there a way to professionally do that, or also
don't
not let the
know.
story leak out? Maybe do that, and not let the story come out. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
to me, I think it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah,
You're
it
already
doesn't-
in your head,
Right.
If you have to.
That's what I saw with the
prepare like
Tennessee.
that.
The whole prevailing thing is Tennessee sucks in the cold, and then you come out acting like you guys can handle the cold. It doesn't look right. It's like
Yeah, just play the game.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's cold for them too.
mhm.
I mean, if I were trying to motivate guys, I might. And here's the other thing: I might go through the roster. I bet if you go through the Green Bay and the Saints roster, how many? It's probably the same number of warm and cold weather kids
Probably.
on each team.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're drafted from all over the place,
Mhm.
they're not all. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, New Orleans has some Penn Staters or,
Mhm.
who knows, or
Absolutely.
Ohio Staters or Michigan. And they're cold weather, come from cold, or Wisconsin or whatever. It's not like you were born and raised in New Orleans your whole life. I mean, kind of thing. Or, yeah, the mental advantage goes to Green Bay, but I don't think the advantage is as big as you think.
Speaking of a Ohio State player, he's been out since week 9 with his concussion, Chris Olave. They ruled him out for Monday, but they have opened his window. Is this something they're just trying to get him some work before the season? There's 2 games left.
He's not coming
yeah,
back.
that's what I would
mean,
assume
I
too,
mean,
right?
you get him a 3rd concussion this season, and
He might end his career.
I mean, if they were alive in the playoffs, maybe Hunt.
It's just
they're done.
procedural, right? Just opening the window, or
You get him some non-contact
Right.
work,
Yeah.
make sure knock the rust off. He's fine. He can practice with the team. He's not returning.
Let's go through some of the injuries, Doc, in those Wednesday and Thursday games, like you said. I'll start with just Thursday. I'm going to go backwards just because of the big injury. Talk about Kenneth Walker and what you saw on video on his leg injury this week.
I will admit, I didn't see it in real time. We left the war room a tiny bit early, a friend's birthday party thing, decade party.
You have a team, though, so you're not leaving anything. You're good. But you're
Left-
going, yeah.
Left high ankle. Not severe, but
Bears game on Thursday.
he's not playing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I'm not calling Kenneth Walker soft. If Patrick Mahomes were running back, he wouldn't play either.
Yep.
Okay. And another quarterback got a mild high ankle this week. Oh, Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, he did. Yep.
And he stayed in the game.
Mhm.
So it's not just Patrick Mahomes, but you can't be a running back with a mild high ankle. No Kenneth Walker Thursday.
You're not worried about sharpening his oblique. He didn't really play much on the run game this week, but he'll be available. So
I think he's available.
we did have a question on Cardinals have officially been eliminated from the playoffs, but for fantasy purposes, he's a huge part of teams that are this is the semifinals, almost the finals in fantasy. Tell me what you saw in his knee injury and his thoughts for playing the Rams this week.
Oh, James Conner.
James Conner, yes, sorry. Yeah.
Before you get James Conner, just finish up on the Bears.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, go on.
Admit to a mistake.
Yeah.
We had about 10 or 15 minutes in the war room on Sunday.
Mhm.
That was just, and Braxton
Fire
Jones
hose, yeah.
was one of them. I saw him collapse down on the knee. I was like, oh, that looks like he blew out his patella tendon.
Yeah. Mhm.
No, he collapsed down on his knee because he trapped his ankle. He's got an ankle fracture, but he tore ligaments too. And he's done for the season, but it's ankle, not wrong. Posted, freezing cold taste. But that was like, here's the video. Okay, next.
And then
My
Tevin
bad.
Jenkins as well.
Tevin Jenkins
yeah.
was with the calf out as well. All right, James Conner, knee hyperextension. I don't think he tore his ACL. I don't think it's structural, but he likely has a bone bruise. And with them being eliminated, sorry, Charlie.
It's unfortunate,
James,
yeah.
No James Conner.
Okay. That's for fantasy. That's huge. He had a big game before he got hurt, 100 yards in the first half. We'll go back to the
You hit your prop.
Yeah. So, sometimes that's all that matters, but I understand other people would need more from him.
No, and just for fantasy, I don't know if you have any other moves to make, but that's
hurtful. Yeah. Then if you had Walker in him, I mean, it hurts a little bit. Let's go back to the Christmas games. Chiefs picked up a couple injuries. Big one was Chris Jones. Your thoughts on his calf injury and Jawaan Taylor and his knee injury? Right.
If it were a 7-day cycle, he wouldn't be playing. This is a 4-day cycle. Chris Jones is not playing. Part of it is, what are the Chiefs trying to do? Three-peat.
Yeah, that's what their
calf injuries do. What? Linger.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
and
trying
he has
to
him
go
in the past as well. He's chronic issues. Yeah.
They're trying to get him week 17 off, week 18 off,
bye.
Get the bye, and give him a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're trying to do. They need Chris Jones.
Yes. Yeah.
They're not going to run him out there for this game.
Just for the Steelers game. And then mentioned a couple of the Steelers injuries. TJ Watt, you didn't see much from him last week, but we had that.
There's another one I'll say wrong.
Yeah.
I said all week that TJ Watt's going to play, and you're going to see him some flip to the other side. So he has a healthy right ankle to get around the edge. And they did that some.
Highsmith Miller a little bit, yeah.
TJ Watt's a great player, but that wasn't TJ Watt on the field. And he wasn't the impact player that he normally is. And I don't think he's going to be that much better. We had a 6-score individually at 72 heading into that game. And
I thought it was too low, but you're saying what you saw from him, it might have been too high, right?
I think that was 72% of TJ Watt, wasn't it? If anything, that was generous.
Yeah.
I think his score should have been 60.
Mm-hmm.
And now for Wednesday, we'll raise him to 72, but we started at 72 too high. I don't think we're raising him.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's too, like you said, 4 days is too much to get back into where you're supposed to be.
And
right?
Would you be shocked if you were a little more sore because he played? I mean,
that too. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think we're raising the 72 on TJ Watt.
And then the final one we had is Texans Ravens.
No.
You're going. Yeah.
Steelers.
Yes.
Big one. Pickens.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Schefter this morning said, I don't want to misquote him.
Yeah.
I think Tomlin said too that, all these guys are.
He has a chance to play. Yeah, Tomlin
was
said
optimistic
yes.
on a handful of players, including George Pickens. And Schefter independently reported, I think on Pat McAfee, I think that's where I saw it, or a clip, that Pickens is headed towards playing or something like this on Wednesday on Christmas. I'm not so sure. I'm not trying to go against Shefty. I love Shefty, love McAfee. Here's why I'm not so sure. You look at it and say, he's got a hamstring strain. This is a big game against the Chiefs.
Grade 2, you said as well, right?
Yeah, big game against Chiefs. And you'd say, well, he's missed 3 games. So this is the 4 weeks. He should be good.
Mm-hmm.
Not so fast. He heard it Friday before week 14. Missed week 14. Missed 15. There was some optimism. Missed 16. Now it's 17. But is it 4 weeks? No.
Real chance to play was the exact quote from Tomlin.
Okay.
He hasn't even practiced yet, right?
Yeah. Not a chance to play anywhere near 100%. How about that? But it's not 4 weeks. It's not even 3 weeks. Count it. Friday before week 14 is ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
Friday before week 15 is 1 week. Friday before week 16 is 2 weeks. This is Wednesday game.
Mm-hmm.
It's shy of 3 weeks. If it's a grade 2 strain, which is what was reported, it's longer than 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I am dubious on Pickens.
Rolling him out, yeah. And what about the other ones? Deshaun Elliott, strong safety for them, and then Ojanobi with his groin injury.
Ojanobi played through. He wasn't himself, but he played through, so he probably will play through again. And Elliott probably is about due to come back from
the hamstring. Yeah,
he's been LP, so he has a chance. I'm more optimistic on those guys than Pickens. I'm dubious on Pickens. Not trying to call Shefty a liar. Love Adam. Not calling Tomlin a liar. His job is coach speak. Just looking at the timeline, I think it's early.
The other Christmas game you already covered, Tank Dell. The one I want to mention, Justice Hill, he suffered a concussion. He was immediately ruled out of last game. Like everything you said, you're dubious on his chance to play, I'd assume, this week as well, right?
It's 4 days.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
how many people can get concussed on Sunday and play Thursday?
Yeah.
This is Saturday, Wednesday, same timeline. I don't think it's happening.
Okay.
And he'll get ruled out when he doesn't take the flight to Houston.
Yeah, they're in Houston, so
yeah, they'll get ruled out
immediately.
On Tuesday when he doesn't take the flight.
Sometimes today, maybe. Yeah, he'll wait. Yeah. Next one I had. Atlanta is actually back into the mix now. We've talked about the standings and what things matter between ourselves so much. Tampa Bay with the loss, Falcons pop in. What are your thoughts on Drake London's status going to the game this week?
Wide receiver speed, sir. His only chance, hamstring.
Night game Sunday.
Yeah.
I know people always think, oh, it's a night game, so he's an extra couple hours. Yeah.
Whatever. Unless he was removed from the game out of precaution because they were ahead. And if it's hamstring tightness and let's pull you from the game because we're ahead, he's not playing this week. Now, is it possible that's hamstring tightness? Let's hope. The Falcons were up. And we talked about it on Sports Grid. This was one of our bigger mismatches of the season. Atlanta, relatively healthy, and the Giants, very unhealthy. And at different points in the week, it was a 10-point spread. Got a little bit lower.
With Penix, yeah.
Penix. I think it went down to 8.5, went back to 9.5.
9.5, yeah.
9.5 on the road. Atlanta, not exactly super dominant, with a rookie, first-time starting quarterback. And yet, that's what Sick Picks was saying. It's just the biggest.
It was ballsy a little bit, yeah. But I mean, with me though, was for me, I just needed them to win without really relying on Penix. They didn't. Penix didn't have to be the guy. It was Robinson, the defense, and so forth, right? So
yeah, well, I mean, Penix played okay, but the bottom line is it's just overall that was a big health mismatch. So laying the 9 or whatever it was on the road was fine, obviously.
So to wrap it up, Doc, I have one more name for you that someone's asked for specifically. Miami is still in the hunt. I don't want to say just barely. I don't want to hurt the fans here, but tell me your thoughts on Jaylen Waddle and his status going to the game this week. It's a fantasy guy too, as well. A little disappointing this year, but
MCL don't really see it. I think it's tough. I mean, you could have some straight line speed, but cutting is going to be very difficult. I don't see him going this week. And Miami plays Sunday.
They play Sunday. They play at the Browns, Cleveland. Yeah.
Do they even have?
There might be a chance that might not matter. Maybe. Yeah, that's true.
Are
yeah.
they be knocked out by then? I don't know.
Yeah, because you have the Colts are above them and Cincinnati's below them, so it'll be a fight. Yeah. Doc. Yeah, I have nothing else for you. I did want to mention our guaranteed pick did hit this week, and we are now 9-2 on the year on that, which is very good. Any other thoughts? College basketball's doing very good.
We had a good week, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Up a bunch of units.
6+ units this week. Yeah. Yes.
And that's counting the juice too, up 6+ units.
Absolutely.
And then
we were 7-3 on props this week and 5-0 on totals. So that was very good. Yeah.
Yep. And then obviously the guaranteed side was a winner. And I think maybe I'm saying it too quickly. Doug's not going to get mad at me.
You're talking about the say it. Yeah. I was going to say it. So either one.
Okay.
Yeah, either one of us. Yeah. You say it,
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
The team's got a Christmas gift for everyone.
A stocking stuffer.
Stocking stuffer. Go to sixscore.com. It'll be up soon, if not now. As I'm looking at Doug saying, he's like, why are you doing
his
this
eyes
to
are
me right
widening.
now?
I get worried. Yeah.
But go ahead of Christmas. Go tomorrow. You can try now if you want, or when you hear this, but free Christmas sick picks will be in there. So I think you just give them the email and they'll email it to you.
Expecting the free picks, too, Rachel. Yeah.
Free picks by Christmas Eve, right? Christmas Eve day.
Maybe earlier than that, yeah.
All right, thanks. Football Wednesday.
Yes.
2 games. Football Thursday. Football Saturday, 3 games.
Tuesday and Friday, the only 2 days that we get to hang out. Days off, yeah.
Well, I'm going skiing with the family. Leaving on Christmas Day after the games.
There you go.
2 games. That's advantage of West Coast, 10 and 1:30 games, right? I think my flight's at 5. And then I already told my wife, she's like, well, I'm going to buy a 5 out of 6 day ski pass for everybody. And I'm like, I might miss Saturday and Sunday.
you're like, this is every day. Yeah, it's insane.
I could just buy single tickets.
There you go. He's trying to lock you in. Yeah.
Yeah. Saturday, I probably won't ski. Sunday, for sure I won't.
For sure.
But it'll be all good. So Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays. Yes. Yeah.
Christmas edition here. And we'll talk to you again in halftime injury chats, pregame stuff, etc. Thanks for watching and listening, and enjoy the holidays.